Last time, on Asmiliath adventures, our well-traveled party finally arrive at their destination of Corsair, Valorant's home. Upon entering the worn-down estate, our heroes are greeted by a mysterious boy playing in the entrance room. Gaining his attention, Valorant quickly learns that the Hellthorn family have been allowed to stay inside his home, welcomed in by his sister after the farmer's house was taken by flame. As orders are given to prepare the house for a proper arrival, Genevieve appears at the front door with guards in tow. Surprised and delighted to see her brother back from his adventures, the dirty Athelvane embraces Valorant in a loving hug. Once their reunion died down, Valorant begins introducing her to the Golden Heart members she has not yet met. Appearing to be receptive to her potential fiancé Decker, Genevieve also meets the newest member Clay. Unsure of the details of their journey so far, she inquires about the absent Jarek Dissel, only to be told he was no longer with us. From here, the party is invited inside and given a small tour of the manor before Genevieve pulls Valorant aside for a private talk. Explaining a few stray situations that are in motion, the main topic of their conversation is the fugitive Black Eye, a recently infamous leader of a small slave rebellion north of Kappelmont. More precisely, Genevieve reveals that she has taken in the fugitive orc, finding him and his band crossing their lands. Knowing that her brother would be ready to charge through her plan, she explains that the orc is injured and harmless before arranging a meeting for that evening. In the meantime, a proper lunch is set out for the Golden Hearts and their colorful band of followers, sitting down to a much-needed respite from the harsh road they had traveled. After the lunch, Valorant pulls the party aside before revealing a well-kept secret of his house, the eye in the hand of Shevlin the Chosen. Though Clay raises his concerns about this discovery, Valorant and Thor learn a bit more about the mysterious location they had been seeking some time ago. Supposedly, the Grove that they had read about is a sanctuary in the Void Realm that Shevlin created with the last of his power, cutting himself off from the world at large after his impressive life. This discovery is mostly pushed aside for the moment as our party focus on the more pressing matter of Black Eye and his band. Being led by Genevieve, our heroes are brought out to the Hellthorn property, where the escaped slaves were hiding, discovering a perfectly intact house and barn. Inside the barn, they meet an injured and sickly Black Eye, who is hesitant to trust the young lord before his reservations are proven true. The conversation moves in circles until Decker and Thor manage to appeal to the warrior's ideals, nudging him towards their thoughts before Valorant puts forth an ultimatum. Giving the half-orcs the choice of joining his company or leaving his lands, the situation begins to fracture. Genevieve is dismissed and removes herself from the situation. Only two of the younger escapees accept Valorant's offer, and Black Eye agrees to leave in the morning despite being ill-prepared. With the situation messy and everyone questioning their decisions, Valorant races after his sister into the night. As the two come to blows, emotions quickly rise, Valorant calling upon his duty as a lord while Genevieve reminds her brother of his inflated righteousness. Neither side manages to convince or calm the other before the two separate yet again. Quickly reflecting on his choices and the words that had been thrown his way, Valorant meets Thor upon the road back to the Hellthorn property. Uncertain of his convictions, he directs Thor to return back to Black Eye, halting their departure before Valorant rides off towards his sister once more. It is late into the night of March 5th. Dried fields race beneath Belgrease as the cloudless night sky wraps around the dark scenery. Pounding off the road and back towards the location of their previous conversation, Valorant finds himself approaching his kneeling sister.
I want to make sure, by the way, that Thor gets his due credit, because he gave Valorant the last nudge. It wasn't just that they ran into each other on the road. It was Thor's, I guess, distilling of the situation, distilling of the facts. So, anyway. So, riding hard after Genevieve, and you said she's kneeling on the side of the road?
Yes, in that same field that you'd had the conversation months ago when you've been practicing your glaive techniques. She's now in that field, the vegetation dried and, gone until spring fully arrives. She's knelt down, still in somewhat loose traveling clothes, having brought you all out to the Hellthorn property, but she's knelt in the dirt, kind of on her knees and leaned slightly to the side on an elbow, just kind of staring down at the ground, her back facing you, so her front is obscured.
She's looking directly at the ground. It's not like on a hillside.
No, she's just like staring down at the ground like a few feet in front of her.
Okay. I want to. It's nighttime, and this is not my forte, but I feel like I have to ask if I can. I look around for any sign of anybody else that is traveling on the road or has been on the road recently. Any sign that there's anyone around but the two of us.
Go ahead and give me perception with disadvantage because you are only functioning under moonlight, but you are
Yeah.
removed off of the road a fair bit, so it's not like someone's just going to happen upon you.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah, all right. You are very distracted currently, so makes sense that, yeah.
So, come riding up, and as I'm getting within a reasonable speaking distance, I don't want to be shouting in the night, but as I get within a reasonable speaking distance, just sort of kind of under my breath. All right, Jenny. And without even bringing Belgrease to a stop, I swing my leg over and slide out of the saddle and sort of jog the last few feet to her side.
Acrobatic.
Now that I'm closer, what is she doing?
So almost like I guess like a child that's been like reprimanded, where back in the schoolyard you might be sent to a corner and you're just like ripping up grass out of defiance. She's almost in that stage. She's just knelt on the ground, kind of staring down at the earth. It's clear that she isn't involved in anything besides just kind of keeping her hands busy due to her mind being kind of troubled at the moment. As you approach and she hears your voice, she would like look up over her shoulder at you. And as her face is kind of presented to the moonlight enough that you can get a clearer image of it, you can see like tear stains going down her cheeks, kind of ending near her chin. And she just kind of watches you approach before you eventually do get a hand on
her. I'm actually going to just drop down into the dirt with her, like face to face. And again, just repeating, all right. I will do a better job of explaining and apologizing later. When this is over, if we are not fugitives from folkish law, we are going to have a long discussion about everything. There are things that I should have told you.
She kind of takes in your words, and perhaps even as like part of her response, she just stares into your eyes for a fair amount of silence, a few seconds kind of ticking by. Eventually, she would, still maintaining almost direct eye contact. I don't have a problem with you disagreeing with me, brother. But you simply overriding me and breaking what I thought that we had agreed upon is something that we cannot have between us and survive.
I agree. You're right. I am angry at so much of our situation, and I am afraid, and that makes me more angry. You deserve better. I know that. If you want to be responsible for their lives, to be a leader, I will back your plan.
I don't think that it's a surprise that I'm not lacking in reasons to be angry as well, brother.
Would not suggest that.
Of course, we will talk about this later, and I don't want to get too invested currently, as I am still upset. But with father gone and mother the way she is, it's us. We are the ones that are left. And if we come to blows like that again, you might be the last Athelvane.
Not sure exactly what that means, but it won't matter. We won't. You understand how dangerous this situation is. We're surely already under suspicion just because of who we are. They will expect this.
One of my hopes is that you would have asked what my plan was before you simply discarded it.
I know. Somewhere in that band is at least one murderer. But Thor helped me to realize that that person should not condemn them all.
I'll let you realize the irony of that statement, brother.
In any case, I took a longer road getting here, but I am prepared.
Well, before we return, I want to tell you my plan, and I want you to agree to something.
I'm ready.
I am riding Belgre's back, and I am speaking to Thor when we return.
All right.
All right. And then she stands up, seemingly shifting her attitude almost drastically, claiming this kind of small victory before she starts beelining towards Belgre's.
I'll see you there.
You're gonna walk beside me, brother. We have to discuss the plan.
Oh. Very well. And I'd sort of give Belgre's kind of a cockeyed look, like, but I'm sure he's down to help me smooth things over. So,
Play a wing horse.
actually, how does she get up there? Because his back is as high as my head.
It certainly isn't the most graceful and ladylike approach, but she basically kind of hops, latches her left arm over his neck, and then almost like kind of scrambles up him, using his like knees and his legs as like kind of a step ladder to get up into the saddle. But she does eventually get up there, even though it looks fairly comical. Her feet don't reach the stirrups down at the bottom, so it's a sight, but it's doable.
I don't. Once she gets seated, I definitely don't say anything. I just kind of have this look like, "Are you happy?"
So Thor and Decker and Clay, the interaction that you all would be, I guess, introducing is Thor riding by you after your conversation with Valorant, however you want to introduce that to them.
Yeah. So basically, it would just be like you would just see me in the distance coming towards you. Well, not you, but Clay and Decker. and I imagine you would be riding together. But I would just like kind of slow the pace of the horse and just say, something along the lines of, I talked to Valoran and he changed his mind, so I'm going back to tell Black Eye not to leave yet. Okay, bye. And then I would just keep going, and they could choose to follow me if they wanted to or not.
Right. So anyway, you were telling me more about your father, Clay.
Oh yeah. He was pretty extreme in his youth, and then he went into the bureaucratics of the chosen. It was, I'm a bit of a disappointment for just wanting field work, but what the hell was that about, though?
I don't know. It's Thor. He's suppose he's changed Valoran's mind. Should we investigate?
Well, I guess we should go back with him, because if there's one thing I've learned, a half-cocked plan is what leads to people dying. So.
Yes. So I'll turn around and go back, and I'll explain to Clay how like our fathers seem to be. It's odd that we should be talking about him today.
So, Valorant, as you ride back with Genevieve, I'll kind of give you the spark notes of the plan versus going through it step by step. The preparations that she has made is she found a somewhat close, or what's the word I'm looking for? A coming up anniversary of a revolt in Vilstein that is about to happen. And she has used that fact as an excuse to throw an extravagant party where she was going to, do some sort of display or reenactment of this revolt. So she has ordered Vilstein guard uniforms from Vilstein for that event. There's never going to be a party, though, but she sent out messages to all the different nobility that she knew would deny the invitation, so that there was a paper trail of some party taking place, and then using those outfits that she gets from Vilstein to dress up the house guards and send them off into the mountains, as basically acting as if Black Eye is a prisoner they are transporting.
I'm impressed by her resourcefulness.
So that would be the conversation. Whatever questions you have for that would go back and forth between you two. But yeah.
Does she already have the uniforms, or are we still waiting?
So the anniversary of the event is set to be in a day or two. So she was on the cusp of enacting this plan before you all arrived.
Okay, so this is happening tomorrow or the next day.
Yeah, I mean, it could feasibly happen now. If you push about it, she'd probably refer to Black Eye's current state and how he's not quite there to travel yet. But there isn't going to be a party on the anniversary, so there's no reason for it to happen that day. But it just makes sense to kind of wait around that time to make it happen. So.
Well, I'll definitely point out to her that with all the skilled individuals we have in the caravan, we can get Black Eye on his feet.
Yeah. So the end of the conversation would probably be, we can proceed with the plan as it is planned, or we could replace the house guards with you or Golden Hand companions or caravan members. That would be the general conversation.
I do think that we can... Let's see. It's probably still worth going through Tamentop. When we get back, we can read Thor in and see if he still wants to go that route. If he still thinks that his father is going to be amenable.
Yeah.
But leave it up to Thor how much he even wants to tell him. It might even just be, it could either be the whole plan, or it could just be, we're going to be passing through, don't mind us.
Okay, well, we'll leave that conversation and then pick it back up when you guys arrive. Is there anything the party is doing while you're at the property waiting for Valorant to return? Besides, telling Black Eye that he's not leaving in the morning?
No, that would probably be like just the only thing I'm doing. If he's like, they're like moving out, I'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody stop. But I mean, I don't imagine there's much there. I would just kind of tell him, he changed his mind. The whole thing got a little heated when we brought up like killing children, and then just kind of explain his perspective as gently as I can.
Okay.
And then what?
I was gonna say, is there any conversation that either Clay, Decker, or you would be having before Valorant comes back? Like with each other at all?
Well, I don't know if they did they turn
They
around
would get
and...
back. I imagine they turned around, yeah. Yeah. So
Okay,
they'd be getting back a few minutes before Valorant, so if there's any words that needed to be exchanged then.
I mean, I guess that's up to them if they have any questions for me.
So, do we have to do anything? Are they just gonna chill in the barn? We'll do this in the morning.
No, they just wait wherever they are. Just stay put. Don't move. Single muscle. I don't know. I'm sure they have a plan.
What about these two? Pointing back towards
Ulam and Kador?
Ulam and Kador. Yes.
I mean, they can still come with us. I don't think Valorant is opposed to that. But they can also leave. To me, it's still their choice, but I'm sure it's up to Valorant. He's the one that offered their services in the first place. Or offered them to offer their services.
Right. Okay.
So it's still their choice in my eyes, but we'll wait for him. I'm actually not sure if he's back here or not.
As you say that, Valorant and Genevieve would be off in the distance approaching, and you would see Genevieve atop Belgrease. Once you all get into, like line of sight or conversation area, I'm running out of words today, Genevieve would kind of point at you, Thor, and then like beckon you over.
I would just kind of like... I'll just start walking over.
So,
by the way, my ring has light on it since it's like dark out.
Okay.
But like not when I'm near the orc people, just like for walking back.
So as you approach, whether or not Clay or Decker approaches as well, it's up to them. From a little bit above you, because she is atop Belgrease, but not that much higher than you, she kind of looks over at Valor and then looks over to you. Thor, if I remember correctly, there was a very particular incident in Bronshard where you kept to your word to the point that you almost died, correct?
I mean, I was going to die, yeah.
I want to get you a word on something, if you would be so kind.
I'll just like visibly put a hand on my head. Why does everybody ask me? I do it once. Everybody's like, oh, it's all the time, I guess. Yeah, what is it?
I want you to promise that if my dear brother decides to disrupt the plans we're about to establish, that you simply keep him away.
Well, now hold on. I'm sorry, young lady, but this sounds like a family squabble is about to put this entire group in jeopardy. Should anything go wrong in a plan, which I'd like to point out, plans go wrong all the time. Can we afford to be split in a decision? Lord Athelvane, I don't know what's passed between the two of you, but
It's all right, Clay. We are not at a split decision at this point in time. And by the way, what we're about to do is not what any of you signed up for. So for the record, there is no blame if you do not join this misadventure. However, I have yet to break my word to anyone. And I give Genevieve a very, pointed look.
She would give you some side eye as well.
all right, yeah.
Master
fine.
Deeploam, I don't know if you are a lawyer, but I'm not looking to split hairs here. I am simply making sure that whatever plan we agree upon is sought out and seen through. Not that if there is any disruption, that somehow this is my brother's fault.
In the matter of Black Eye and his band, Lady Genevieve Athelvane is in charge.
Is that why she's on the horse?
Probably.
At this point, she would, swing her leg over and start squabbling down the side of Belgrease. Again, not the most elegant, but it does. As she, stands, kind of straightens her clothes out, brush a little bit of the dirt off of it that she had acquired by kneeling down in the field. She would look between you all and... Well, as far as I discussed with my brother, it seems that we are heading towards the mountains, and, Thrasius, you have a father, over to the east, is that correct?
I do. I have a dad. Everybody knows this.
Would he be agreeable to moving Black Eye and his band through his lands?
So from what we discussed,
Mm-hmm.
it was as far as I knew, a maybe.
Yeah, as far as Thor would really know, your father doesn't own any, but that isn't because there's some opposition towards it. There's just no point to him having any. He is a pretty die-hard folk patriot, whether or not that extends to their slavery practices or that's a kind of mute point for him is up for discussion. There is the, observation that Thor could make that he did sleep with a Goliath and has a half Goliath son, so...
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't. As far as okay, here's the. I don't know his position on this subject, but he doesn't have any that I saw. Any orcs or half orcs, and I'm here. So I could, if you want me to, I could ride ahead of you guys and talk to him, make sure everything's okay, and then if not, we can kind of just be a traveling caravan that he doesn't recognize us and we can go through. But as far as I know, there shouldn't be a problem.
Well, it is up to you, and as my brother said, none of you are obligated to see this plan through.
Well, I do need to, I have a cave I need exploring over in that area anyways, so I'm fine with going back.
Well, brother, I think we have our answer then.
Quite.
Wait, so what is the plan?
We can say that, either
Yeah.
her or Valorant explains it in detail. So,
Oh, okay.
Just point of order. If all you're trying to do is sneak them through, could you not pretend they were yours, and then just go up into the mountains and release them?
Black Eye is notable.
forgive me. We must shed any marking of my house or this county. It is well known that I do not have slaves. So we will be immediately suspect if we are recognized.
Hmm.
They could
Well,
be
good for
Clay's.
you. Uh, I'm not. I'm not opposed per se. However, I am not folkish.
May I just
And
quickly
we,
interrupt here? The reason that they are being posed as captured slaves is because everybody in Folk currently knows who Black Eye is and is seeking him out. So if we walk through pretending like he's just another slave, it's going to be suspect. Whereas if we've claimed to capture him and returning him to the proper authorities, no one would question it.
Unless you run into the proper authorities on the road.
I mean, going up into the mountains, I can't imagine those proper authorities are out that direction, but freeing slaves, it's a nice calling. If we get in a fight, I can't promise I'm gonna kill guards doing their duty, but I'll do what I can to help them get out of this situation.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the way to get to my home? Like, what is the path
So,
on the map?
yeah, there's like two different ways to kind of get there. The city to the north has like a somewhat direct road leading down to it, but there's also a eastern road that splits off of the main one right around probably there, that crosses the river and then goes up into the woodlands to the castle. So you can either follow the main road a little bit north and then jut east, yeah, something like that, or go all the way up to the city to the north and then head south.
Okay, now, question: is there a road that goes from like Hammond Top to Bill's?
No, but you could traverse that area. Like you could just travel without a road that way.
Yeah. I was just trying to make a point. Like, I guess I can say this in character. The only issue I could think of is if we encounter somebody who, knows what we're doing, or we tell them what they're doing, and we're going north towards my house, but Vilstein is south. Wouldn't really make sense to say we're Vilstein guards going to Vilstein. We're just headed the wrong way.
So Genevieve would kind of nod a little bit and speak. The idea that I had, and of course this is going under the assumption that we are questioned at any point during our travels, is that the rest of his band has been picked up and we are simply going to gather the rest that are closer to the mountains, since that would be their destination, and we are returning to Vilstein if anyone catches us going the wrong way.
You're a thinker.
I don't do much else.
Do almost anything else.
The only thing to discuss at this point, I guess, is I have 3 disguises, though I don't think they'll fit Tharasius or Master Deeploan. And I don't expect that anyone would believe me to be a believable Vilstein god.
I mean, do you want me to be a prisoner, or... Like, I guess how do we explain me being there?
Well, you are gonna ride ahead, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, you're rather large and, to some people, monstrous looking. Why not just be hired muscle for the group?
I guess that makes sense.
I mean, if you just need a plausible story, I can go with you. And you can be my hired muscle. No one's going to question a gnome with some
That
protection.
is true. Nobody would question that.
And the two parties just happened to be traveling the same road at the same time.
Stranger things have happened.
Or we banded up with you for better protection.
Can I at least be one of the guard captains? I don't want to be a common guard.
I didn't look at the specific rankings, but I'm sure you and my brother can fight over it when we return.
No need to fight, you can have your pick. It will only matter if we have to speak to someone, and I desperately hope that does not happen.
Second point of order, or maybe 17th at this point. All of the banners of your house, of course, have to be taken away. What of the golden hearts? Are you
We can't run the
planning on
risk
using-
that people know of my association with the Golden Hearts. We made a splash the last time we were here. I think all insignia besides that of Vilstein must be removed.
We made a cannonball is what we made.
A smoke signal might be more appropriate.
Hmm.
Or a burning house.
On
By
that
the
note,
heavens above, what did y'all do?
later. Well then, when shall we make ready?
I imagine we can return back to Corsair for the night, and whoever wants to set off in the morning can, and we can get the disguises put in place.
All right then. Do they know this plan? Black Eye's
Yes,
band.
I discussed it with Black Eye a fair bit, and we were preparing for it in the next couple days before you arrived.
All right. I'm going to get the escaped slaves together one last time in one place.
Mhm.
Including Black Eye, and say to them, we are going to attempt escape. After all, if we are successful, you will owe your lives to this woman. I do not know exactly what transpired in Newsham, but if the evil you endured inspired you to evil, let the cycle be now broken by her charity.
Give me a persuasion check there. Ooh, that's some rough rolls today, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, due to just the absolute roller coaster of this evening, going from being Valoran to being an Athelvane to being a brother, now to trying to attempt to return to being an Athelvane again. Your words do find their way to the gathered escapees, but after the initial contact they had with you, your words are less impactful.
Also, let those two fellas know that it's their next choice as free men. If they want to stay with the rest of the group, they can. If they want to stay with the caravan, then we will
Yeah.
find a place for them.
If they
But-
are asked, they would opt to return back to Black Eye's band and eventually freedom. So
That's
rest
fine.
in peace, Ulam and Kador. You were very shallowly fleshed out. But after all those various events, Genevieve would eventually approach you and say that she wants to walk back to the estate by herself, do some thinking, all that fun stuff. So the party is then left to kind of maneuver however they would like. And it's like 11 or midnight at this point. It's pretty late.
So Genevieve has started back.
Yeah, and she'd be on foot, leaving you Belgrease.
Okay. I will go to Black Eye, and I think last time, somebody, whether it was Clay or Decker, or maybe both, were talking about going through the group and doing some patching up.
Mm-hmm.
Has that taken place?
So, yeah, both Thor and Clay, I think, departed healing onto Black Eye. Somewhat of a meta/mechanical standpoint is he was certainly down hit points, but he is also ill. So anything besides like restoration or cure disease or something of that nature wouldn't really have an effect in this moment.
I did ask for Danica to see if
Mm-hmm.
Gavin could do any healing, but
Yeah.
I don't know how that turned out.
Well, now he's sick. Is what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying.
Yeah.
I actually, when I get back to his stall, we gotta ask one more time. Genevieve left.
Yes. Oh my
Okay.
god.
So going back to the stall, I actually take a knee next to Black Eye,
Mm-hmm.
and with my left hand, I firmly like grab him around the back of the neck, and just sort of, eye to eye, like, you miserable piece of garbage. And while I'm hanging onto his neck, I will cure his disease with lay on hands.
Need an intimidation check. You can't roll another one. Okay. As you go through your actions as described, and you feel Black Eye's like slick skin as you grab the back of it, all the sweating and fever that he's had kind of dripping down into your hand, and you pull him forward and your eyes meet, and you're left just kind of staring into the half-scarred face of this warrior. He doesn't say anything, he doesn't make any actions to pull away or move once you get your grasp on him, eventually letting the healing effects kind of travel through him. I'm assuming, do you pull away at some point, or are you holding him there for the time being?
Before I let go, I say, if you escape, do not return to folk. If we are stopped, your brethren will be counting on you to do the right thing. And then I let go.
After you let go, he kind of sits there for a moment, still eyeing you from his spot on his cot. Your sister is very impressive.
Yes, she is.
It seems that we are all thankful for not only her help in obscuring us, but staving off the wrath of Lord Athelbane.
She and the Goliath. In this tumultuous time, I must occasionally seek my conscience with others. May you practice the same.
May I impart a bit of brutal wisdom before you leave?
Such as it is. Be my guest.
I suspect that we are both veterans of living in a world where we are surrounded by enemies.
That is true.
I'm certainly not going to disrupt the generosity that's been shown to me when it is such a unique taste after a long time of violence and deceit.
Is there a caveat?
I just want to get my people to where they belong, and I want to make sure that the life of Lady Athelbane is not affected in her assisting us.
Then may I recommend that be the last time that we use her name. I believe I caught before that you said you had been blessed.
That is true.
By whom?
I don't imagine that you, humans are too familiar with Kibid. It does not ring a bell to you.
I am not.
Well, I don't expect that you'd be astonished that his followers aren't the most studious. So not a lot is known about him, even to us. But he is the father of our race, our creator, our source.
Are you trying to say that you're a holy man?
He, in his infinite spite, elected me to come down from the mountains and raise my brothers and sisters up in rebellion, to take back vengeance upon the gods, the deities, the powers that allowed you humans to spread so far and so wide. I accepted his blessing, but I refused to light the counter peg.
Steel the nerves of your people. If they either panic or otherwise disrupt a delicate situation with hot blood, then all bets are off. I'll say good night.
Good night.
And I'm out of there.
Again, the lovely non-Valorant trio. Anything you're doing during this time?
I would probably like be near that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
would I like? I mean, how much of that was like hushed and how much was not? Like, I would probably just be like over the stall, just like leaning.
Yeah, you were privy to all of it.
Okay. Would I know anything about?
Give me a. Yeah, we'll go with a religion for Kabid.
You want some, little bit of all of us?
I'll go ahead and give Thor advantage because he does live in the Surbats. So go ahead and give me another roll. Or lived in the Surbats.
Well, I think, bro.
Nice. All right. Just simply, having to. You didn't do a lot of fighting with the orcs during your time with your Goliath band, but being around warriors that had, and kind of picking through whatever campsite or ruins that you had conquered as your clan had, you would know that Kabid is their singular deital figure. The general knowledge, rumors, or idea of it is that this power, this god, this entity of questionable origin was cast out by all the other powers of Asmiliath, whatever, pantheon or spectral beings, have power. They all told him to basically go find a small corner in the world and cry himself to sleep. Through that, he built up all this resentment and bitterness and anger, eventually not only twisting himself, but twisting the inhabitants of the mountains and creating basically orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, all those, orc adjacent or goblin adjacent species, and then kind of claim dominion over them. And that's why they're always so violent and bitter and kind of aggressive towards mankind and other quote-unquote sophisticated races.
So he used to be a human or human.
Again, just being the amount of knowledge that you have, it's just super vague. If he really existed, if he was a human, if he was a god, if he was an elf that turned evil, I'm sure there's a million different stories, and you would just kind of know the faintest beginning of one.
Okay. Well, I would just keep that to myself while I'm listening, watching.
He's known for being basically pure evil as far as civilized society is concerned.
Okay. Cool. I would just be listening to that conversation, making sure he doesn't slowly shove a knife into his heart, something like that.
Make you be cleansed.
I helped him.
He's
I was
dead.
concerned for a moment when you asked if Genevieve was there. I'm like, oh no.
His head just exploded. It was quite
I
unexplainable.
healed him so well that he's dead.
I was gonna offer to kill and revive him because that would get rid of diseases.
Anyway, Clay and Decker, do you have anything to add for this section?
I don't think I was there for that, so.
And then at this point, very late in the night, the party's going to head back towards Corsair. All right.
Probably get drunk before bed, but yeah.
So the things that are waiting for you upon your return, Decker, you would be met with Gavin, but after learning that, I'm assuming Valorn might disclose that he healed Black Eye of his illness, that would become almost a moot point. Valorn, you would have Verkan Moon waiting for you with various laws about claiming escaped slaves and all that fun stuff, but it, again, may be a moot point at this point, so.
Moon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I thank him for his effort and tell him to keep it in his back pocket.
Okay.
As a plan C.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a little chat with Belgrease and let him know that he also is a recognizable symbol in and of himself, and so he will not be coming. I'll have to ride an ordinary horse.
Can I speak with animals to see what he says?
If you want to.
I do.
Okay. It is a ritual, so I assume you'd wait till you get back to cast it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it takes 10 minutes, but
Yeah. So once you all return to the estate and Valorant has informed Belgries of this this plan, Thor goes through the various aspects of his ritual, which again we haven't fully detailed, but eventually you would feel the magical energy kind of bestowed upon you that allows you to hear the thoughts of this massive horse. And once you can understand it, you kind of look over at you and then try to look back up at Valorant, who might still be in the saddle. I am
No, I'm
thoroughly...
I'm like face to face with him.
Oh, okay. So yeah, look over at Thor and then look back at Valorant. I am thoroughly disappointed. We haven't charged into an enemy in so long. Perhaps I shall bide my time, stock up on beats, and then my lord will ride me into magnificent battle once more.
I would relay this message word for word.
That if things go well, we will avoid battle entirely, and you will miss nothing.
Belgraves would then look over at you, Thor, kind of understanding the very simple translation that's going on.
He understands. He understands common.
All right.
He just can't speak it.
Yeah, but this is him putting together that like Thor is translating for him to you. So he looks at Thor directly. If the mount that he finds does not measure up to his standards, tell him to slay the beast and leave it where it lie.
Thor would just kind of like, he would be like, okay. Like wide-eyed for a second. And then tell I'm translating for it.
Valor just gives a genuine smile and just kind of pats Belgries on the head.
Do I see Thor doing this?
Yeah, if you guys want to be there, I don't think it's a secret.
Thor, one moment. How long does that spell last?
I think it's like 10 minutes.
Hour? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Hold on. Give me a second.
10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it will last 10 minutes.
And-
Like 5 minutes.
Aurora's here. I've never spoken to her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Ask her if there's anything she wants me to know.
Does your animal understand, or I guess your familiar understand English?
A quick point of order. Can't Aurora telepathically communicate with you in some regard?
Familiar.
Yeah.
Belgries can too, but this is a funny scene, so.
I like better.
I mean, we can go with the ruling that like they can impart images or emotions telepathically, but can't like produce genuine words to you. So that could be the difference, where you're actually hearing their voices through Thor versus whatever telepathic emotional connection you have. If that fits.
That would make sense.
Okay. So, are you telling Thor to ask her anything directly?
Just, I want to know if there's anything after all these years that she would like me to know.
All right. I'll assume Thor asked the question. Aurora is, I guess, perched on your shoulder, kind of, tall, all the wings are tucked around the wings. The feathers are tucked in their place, looking elegant and almost kind of natural in the moonlight that you were all standing under at this point. She would look over at Thor, kind of like turn her head to the side as she realizes that this behemoth is speaking to her. And then she kind of like chirps, like her head shakes a little bit before Thor, you would hear, "Let Master Caspian know that when he is not within my eyes, I am within his, and some of his choices in companion are questionable."
burden
Oh,
on Danica too much.
So, what did she say, Thor?
uh, she, she said essentially to lay off some of the ladies because she can see them. Her eyes are your eyes are her eyes. That's what I got from that.
I can see in the dark and he can't. It makes a difference.
I would relay that part.
Yeah, Decker would just be dumbfounded. He'd be doing the mental addition at this point. How long he had Belgreaves.
Aurora, but yeah.
Aurora, yeah.
All right.
After hearing that, Flora would just immediately end the spell. Doesn't matter how long.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Yeah. But if you would like to know like how the ritual looks,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine him to like sit in a circle with his legs crossed, and this is something that his mom would have taught him.
Mm-hmm.
And with his finger, there's like hopefully there's like dirt around him, and he like draws a circle, and then like at certain points in the circle, there's like pictures of different animals. So like animals. I mean, according to what he can draw. Oh well. So there's like a bear at one, a deer. There's like a lion, a horse. Just like a bunch of different animals in a circle,
Mm-hmm.
and then it like you can see like the air, like if there's like okay, my bad. But if there's like leaves or something blowing around, like they just stop for a second if they're in that circle, and then that's how the ritual works. And
Okay.
there's like a chant to it, but it's
Noted.
in a language you probably do not understand.
Maybe giant.
Yeah.
All right. Simple enough. So, party has arrived back at the manor. One of you has said that drinking is going to occur. Is there anything you all are doing this evening? Would it be worthwhile for the party to have drinks together and go over the plan, or is everyone finding their way to bed?
I'm okay with. I mean, Thor wouldn't drink, but he would sit there and discuss the plan if that's what they wanted to do. But also, I would not sleep inside. I would sleep sitting like directly in front of the caravan with the
Mm-hmm.
The
piece.
piece. Yeah.
All right.
Clay might actually go and drink and kind of bemoan to Shevlin's hand. Because it wasn't locked, right? It wasn't. I don't remember it being in a locked room.
I think it's reasonable to assume that
Yeah,
that
it
door
was
would have
locked.
a lock.
Okay, well then Clay would probably request that
He's like, I'm a flea.
of Valoran. Just, I promise I won't steal it, but at least give me the time to pay the proper respects.
So he acquiesces, but he stays in the room by the door while you are paying your respects.
That is a thing that like he would do while we were discussing. I would also be there, just because it's important to my best friend. It's important to me.
Okay. Decker, where do you find yourself this evening? I guess
I've been
night.
Yeah, I've been kind of just following the group from one place to another, watching events transpire. And I don't have a particular goal tonight.
Okay.
Not looking at your owl the same way ever again.
No, the owl's just gonna have to get used to it, honestly. I mean, really.
I mean, Decker's set to be a one-woman kind of man here soon, so.
Well, actually, no. I would, given that knowledge, from here on out, it's pretty much canon that I would just summon the owl before anything happened, and then send her off to go do her thing.
Okay.
Ceiling owl is watching you slum it.
It's like the dog at the end of the bed.
I thought you were like going for you needed Al's approval before.
It's Aurora Tinder.
She's your wingman. It's right there. It's right
You
there
know,
for you.
now that we're on this subject, I probably would go try to find Genevieve.
All right. We'll handle Clay, Thor, and Valorant here first. Clay, is there anything specific you were seeking out in this endeavor?
You know, given the roller coaster of a day they've had, you know, I think Clay would probably be drinking heavily as he professes his worship to Shevlin and all of his great deeds. And then it would detract into complaints about how the Shevlins chosen are no longer a order of valiancy or, you know, true purpose, but, you know, all of his petty complaints about how the bureaucracy has ruined things for them. The need for money. So you would see this relatively set little gnome there, but by the end of his conversation, he's just, you know, that wild drunk who's another thing, and all they care about is the coffers. So he's just gonna kind of disintegrate across the whatever the hell it is y'all are doing while he's losing himself in front of Shevlin.
Go ahead and give me a wisdom check.
Oh, I closed out of it. 23. Sorry, let me get back.
Okay.
20.
Hmm.
Do you want a screenshot?
No, I believe you, sir. If you start lying to me now, I'd be very concerned. Valorant and Thor, is there anything specific you were doing during this time while he's doing this? Okay.
Just letting him have his time, just observing.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say if like Valorant were to turn and just kind of like be like, "Why are you here?" I would relay that message to. It's important to you. It's important. Sorry, someone's going.
It's okay.
He just Valorant gives Thor a little, just a small smile and a nod of acknowledgement.
So, Jarek, as you basically just pour your heart out to this shriveled ancient hand connected to a long ago hero that is somewhat, I guess, abandoned the world as it is today, you find yourself getting more and more direct and blunt with it, almost not attacking but addressing a lot of the shortcomings of the order that you serve. As time goes on, the lights in the room, which there is a small amount, mainly just the light coming from the open doorway, begin to close in around you, which you don't notice as you are so involved in this unloading of your emotions and unloading of the entire day. But Valorant and Thor, as you were conversing or just kind of watching silently, you would see the lights closing in tighter and tighter around this small gnomish figure. Whatever flourish of his hand or misstep of his groggy foot that kind of sends him one way or the other, the bubble of light would kind of shake and center around his chest. Eventually, when the sphere is maybe only about a foot or so away from the gnome, you would see about 10 or 15 feet away from him little tiny specks of light, almost appearing and disappearing like fireflies in the night, where you'd catch a glimpse of one spawning into existence, kind of floating away a few inches and then fading out again. And this little show gets more and more dense the longer he speaks, and it is still almost baffling that he has not realized this event is occurring around him. This almost mock representation of the night sky kind of centering around like a snow globe on this small gnome. But Clay, after you finally kind of let your last, I don't know, bullet fly, you would kind of like look up in exasperation, and you would see the night sky presented before you, though you are still indoors, and you feel this sense of calm, this sense of relief or unloading kind of washing over you, and the figure that you control whenever you call upon the stars begins to twinkle and glow as you rest there in a half-drunken state or full drunken state, depending on how deep you got, before you hear a very faint and distant voice that you would hopefully somewhat recognize. May the stars and the celestial beings guide you through whatever troubles you find.
Oh, Grandpappy, yes. Of course. I have to have the faith. Yes, Grandpappy, yes.
And that would be the small interaction that you would receive.
Clay, are you okay? Do you and your grandfather have a special relationship?
He was Master Diplome. And we can but hope to live up to his great accomplishments. Never forget.
I'll take that as a yes.
Waiting until he's ready to leave the room. On the way out, I ask him, "Did you get what you needed?"
Do any of us ever? Yes, thank you, Lord Athelfane. He needed to know.
Would DM, would you agree that being drunk is a form of poisoning?
Yes.
I gently touch Clay's shoulder and, using lay on hands, make him stone sober. Right then. Busy day tomorrow. Or you can start over. I'm going to bed.
That's an interesting feeling. And yeah, he'll head to bed too.
So, Decker, you were seeking out Genevieve, correct?
Genevieve, Danica, just somebody to go talk to.
Okay. As you are descending back towards the front or the center of Corsair, you would basically practically bump into Genevieve as she was returning a few minutes after you, because, again, she was traveling on foot for the most part. You know, she would be tired. The tear stains that she had earlier would be wiped away at this point, but, like, the dirt of travel and also being knelt in a field still clings to her clothes. As she walks in, there would be, like, her demeanor and her, like, stature would be drooped, kind of worn, kind of tired, but she would spot you as she walks in and kind of give you a pleasant smile and a little head bow. Master Caspian, quite the day that we have had.
Indeed, Lady Genevieve. I really don't know why I sought you out, other than I found you quite extraordinary this evening. I've never seen anybody change your brother's mind.
I would not bet on me being able to do it consistently.
Well, hopefully there's nothing that needs consistent doing. But, just wanted to beg a favor, as long as we're going to be traveling in the same company. My sister, she normally has quite a few things to do at home and many friends, and she's on the road with us, and I think she's finding herself quite bored. Would you be so kind as to touch in on her day to day, if you don't mind?
Well, perhaps the plan has changed, but as far as I remember, Danica and I will remain here since the Golden Hearts are being removed from any sort of connection.
I see. I'm sorry. I thought you were going with us.
I certainly can entertain her here. It would be a very welcome change of pace from having to entertain myself.
Will we be returning to you?
I would imagine, unless my brother would grow tired of his toys and just leave them here.
I wonder if it might not be for the best if I convince Danica to stay with you, perhaps.
But I've been meaning to ask, because we didn't quite cover this earlier. Our introduction was rather brief. Why is your sister here?
You would have to ask her. She determined to come on the road with us, and, well, like another sister I've recently met, it's hard to change her mind.
Should we broach the elephant in the room?
I only have an owl.
My brother did very bluntly put forth the proposal that has been put in place.
Yes, well, children of our station are almost never left to our own devices when it comes to whom we marry.
So this is your father's doing?
Absolutely. But, for my part, well, the way it was described to me is that the primary consideration for marriage would be Valoran and my sister, but if that were not to happen, we are the plan B, so to speak. But, the more I get to know you, the more I wouldn't be upset if that were to happen.
I don't know if you've been told the whole story of my previous betrothal, but I understand that you know the broad strokes.
It was a brief but fiery affair.
Fiery, but completely devoid of any sort of passion. Though you are tacky, and I assume that's because you're from Liamus, you do have charm.
And you ride very stiffly in the saddle, and that might be because you're from folk, but you also have charm, my lady.
I would not be disappointed to see you riding back with my brother once Black Eye has been dealt with.
I will do my utmost to make sure that happens. In the meantime, my lady, if I can convince my sister to stay, would you find it within your heart and your power to keep her happy and entertained here? And safe, I would hope.
I will certainly try my best, but she does seem to be quite the personality.
She is my twin, after all.
Well, perhaps I'll practice some verbal sparring while you're away.
You don't need any more help. Lady Genevieve, good evening.
Thankfully, it now is. Good night. And she would depart. So, Golden Hearts as a whole find their way to their various guest rooms and sleeping areas. Thor outside, the rest of you inside.
I get my own bedroom back.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't ever discussed this or brought this up. The rough chain of events that we have figured out is that your father passed, so you would have stepped into the the role of Lord for, what was it, a year or a little bit more, and then you
Right.
left home. So it would be your bedroom from that section of time, whether there's hints of your childhood or the transitional period, or however you want to see fit to lay that out.
No, I think he would have moved into the master suite at his mother's encouraging, and she would take a different bedroom. Because it's his room now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to think about how he decorated his bedroom over the next week.
Yeah, well, food for thought then.
Maybe black velvet.
I would imagine, would there be, I guess, like mementos of your father that were left, like perhaps the blade that he shaved with, or things of that nature?
I don't think so, actually. I think that the impulse would have been, this is my room. I'm not going to behave like I'm playing with daddy's things. This is mine now.
All right. So yeah, you would return to a familiar yet uncomfortable place. Or maybe not uncomfortable, but strange. And Thor, for what it's worth, I imagine, to do some hand waving, that Danica was offered a bedroom inside of Corsair. Or bunking with Decker, whichever one works. So she would not be in the wagon this night, but you would be parked outside of it. Anything else before we get to the morning?
I can't remember who in our caravan is. I mean, I just don't have it pulled up in my notes. Who's the religious person?
That would be Gavin Cole, the one that got picked up by Decker.
Okay. Can I ask him about the orc guy? Like, any more detail?
Sure. There is the somewhat understood point that I think I gave to Valorant first, that quote-unquote, again, civilized races, societies, historical scholars wouldn't be super well knowledgeable about this individual due to the fact that he is this kind of otherworldly, race-specific, regional person / power. So you could, but it might not be the most fruitful conversation.
Okay. Gotcha. If anything comes of it, just, like, mention it to him.
Oof. Yeah, there's not
Just
much
be the
more
same stuff.
Yeah. He would find it interesting though, and would want to, learn more if there is an opportunity, but that would kind of be it.
Yeah. I guess I would probably, at some point, I would ask Valorant how like what our level of communication is with the caravan, as like what do we tell them? Like, do we tell them everything? Do we tell them most things? Because like, you know, do we want to tell them that we're harboring?
I would say that the default answer is need to know basis when we're talking about the NPC members of the caravan.
Gotcha.
If not at other times, definitely this time.
Okay, then yeah, I would really only like communicate to him that like it was just something that I had heard when we were talking about like orc, just like a passerby thing. And since I knew he was a religious person, I would just be curious about it.
So to bring us forth to the morning, I guess the options that I won't go through all the various dialogue for, but will kind of present to you, both Florent Lemoyne and Brandon Campbellton would offer to partake in the plan if they were privy to it or explained it. And then you have 3 chainmail Vilstein guard disguises at your disposal, and the rough plans and notes that you have about the trip. So it's kind of all up to you how you want to approach that as a group.
So anybody can feel free to like jump in with other ideas. My thinking is to invite Campbellton to stay put, because he's also potentially a recognizable member of the caravan as the king's son in Giles. And Lemoyne would be the one of the few NPCs that I actually would take aside and tell the whole story, because knowing Lemoyne, he's going to find out anyway if he doesn't already know. And I will invite him to be the third disguise.
Okay. So that's going to be Decker, Valorant, and Florent traveling as disguised guards, while Thor and Clay travel beside.
I don't know if there's what the helmets are, if they came with the disguises, but I'm gonna endeavor to like cover my face and be fully disguised.
Yeah, I mean, so I was picturing, a chainmail as a coif is what's called. Yeah. That, covers the head except for the actual face. Probably it would just be a pretty simplistic, like, bull helmet that rests atop your head. You could, I guess, reasonably either disguise your face or like a mask or a bandana potentially. But yeah,
like a shawl or something around my face, and so that only my eyes are visible.
Okay. But is there any other preparations or questions or ideas or thoughts to kick around?
Before we move on, before we leave the house, I am gonna find that crate that came that I didn't open yet, and just yank the lid off with my bare hands and get a look at what's inside.
Okay, let me where did I put this down? Here it is. So actually, do you want to describe this or do you want me to describe this? Because you are the one that requisitioned it, so.
Sure. So, like I wrote in my order, it's a pair of heavy gauntlets, heavy armor gauntlets. The palms, like the base layer, is thick leather, so that there are actual individual fingers, and it's not like the chainmail ones that are like mittens. But the fingers are separate, and then around the forearm and on the back of the hand is steel, which has been plated with gold, and on the gold plate down the forearm, starting closer to the elbow, is engraved the list of names, basically the casualties of Tordan so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the chat, to find later, but it includes Braun and his son, and Baron Hollow, and Marcus, and
Adam's on there.
Jarek, Adam, yeah. So all of the people who have died as a result of Novin and Tordan's nefarious doings have been engraved on the forearm of these gauntlets, and there's room for more.
So
obviously not putting them on now, just taking a look at them and observing the work, and then putting them in the bedroom for later.
There's a small note that would be inside of it as well, and it basically is a crafter's business card. The individual that made these for you is Masterwork Clent, and the shop that it comes from is called Clent and Steel.
Okay. Do they have a bill in there?
Well, yeah, we'll go over that because I had some questions
Later.
about it, but yeah.
Okay.
But besides that, is there any other last minute things before the Golden Hearts depart? I guess a quick question to ask or a thing to point out, the Torrid piece is going to be with the caravan that is basically just told to stay at Corsair, keep an eye out.
Yeah, and Ferris and the guards are keeping watch on it, but they don't have to be as fastidious as they were in Tronberg,
Mm-hmm.
as long as just somebody is always watching it.
Now,
Did
question.
prevent Danica to stay, or
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the understanding is that Danica would stay because going with you would make it problematic in some regards. So, no.
I think it's just the core group of Golden Hearts plus Lemoyne plus
The half orcs.
yeah.
Yeah. Which there are 15 of, by the way, which we never clarified. So. Thor, your
Now-
question.
Yeah, is it Giggles? Giggles is the one that sends the messages, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
He would be staying behind, correct?
Yes. And he would be able to message you if anything happens.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to make sure. Is
Mhm.
like he would be behind to message us in case anything happens.
Yeah.
And I would tell him just message us immediately. Doesn't really matter if you're in the middle of comp, if somebody's coming at you with a sword, you just message us quickly.
Sounds like a plan.
Clay would offer to the group, if we want to try and remain unseen, I can potentially offer maybe 8 hours of magical assistance, but it's gonna leave me pretty drained out. That's a tough spell to run through.
I think we would wait until we actually need to hide from somebody, because right now we've got a story. So if we find ourselves having to flee, then that would be a good time for it.
Or if we are passing people, you could cast it as we're passing somebody, so then it's they don't really notice any distinct features about anybody. But are you talking about pass without a trace?
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to be with the caravan, are you? Or their group of people? You're
Are
gonna be with me?
Enough that the story was that we met on the road, and he's
Okay, so we're traveling together.
Yeah, we're traveling together, but we're not traveling together.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
journey that you guys are going to go on, it's about a 2-day trip to Tamantop, going on that eastern road that crosses over the river. So you would leave today, travel through this day, one night, and then arrive at Tamantop kind of late evening of the next day.
I would ask Decker to, using Aurora, just keep an eye out ahead of us, and if we're about to wander right into like some noble's carriage party or something, maybe we can head off the road for a lunch break or something, and not just march right into the middle of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if it's, I think I may have alluded to this before, but just kind of normal marching order, I'm always going to have Aurora circling,
Mm-hmm.
and every 10 minutes or so, just pop in, from horseback just to see if there's anything interesting. And she, I think, knows enough to, if there's anything, absolutely different, to make me aware of it,
Mm-hmm.
if that's permissible.
Yeah.
Including the missing dire wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't know where the fuck that thing is.
So we will take our 10-minute break, and we will pick back up as you are departing the Hellthorns with the half-orcs. So that we're kind of skipping a little bit there. But go ahead and take our 10-minute break. After the Golden Hearts return back to the Hellthorns property, they collect Black Eye and the band of escapees that he has with him. I'm assuming it would be determined or planned to have like a cart or a wagon to transport them with, to act as like a prisoner transport vessel of some shape or form. After they are collected, and you begin heading east, following the road from Corsair to the main road, and then eventually over to the road that cuts even farther east to Tamantop Castle, there would be a strange air of muffled hope from the various half-orc freemen now that you travel with. It, of course, is somewhat hidden due to the fact that if their elation or their glee was seen by anybody else, it would mean the end of this trip. But just as, silent moments on the road pass by, or various members of the party ride alongside of the wagon, you would just hear, perhaps the younger children excitedly kind of chattering with the older ones, or the middle-aged ones already having plans and ideas of what they're going to do once they find their way to the mountain. It's a bit more uplifting than you, I guess, anticipated. This sense of almost unfathomable freedom that these people are getting the hint of for the first time in their lives. Black Eye is determinedly silent the entire trip. He's sat cross-legged. He looks much better due to Valoran's intervention with his illness, but he doesn't make any points of talking or speaking or interacting with the various dialogues going on within the cart itself. So traveling just kind of passes on as it should. There are a few times along the road on your first day where either Aurora spots someone coming down the road and the party takes a quick break to eat some lunch, or just hold their path along the side of the road. Sometimes a stray guard or a stray messenger would go by. You'd get some glances, maybe one or two would come up to actually ask what your purpose is, but no one is really all that overly inquisitive that you pass by or interact with. The travel going fairly well. Eventually finding rest that first night, again, going off the road and setting up camp. Whether or not you want to do the whole dialogue here, Florent would approach you, Valoran, and almost kind of remind you about his liege and the eye and what progress has been made on that behalf and what the plan is there.
So Valoran is reluctant to get into a lot of detail in this setting, but just assures Lemoyne that once this fire has been put out, it is Valoran's intention to see to that next.
He would specifically ask if you either knew where it was or if you had it, or if it was just a rumor that Solomon had collected.
I tell him that I believe that it exists and that there are clues to its location, perhaps among records that I have in storage
Okay.
that were kept away from Salomon.
Do you think it's fair to rule a deception check there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Add that to your deception.
All right.
20 and then some.
26. All right. Yeah, he'd mostly, be polite about it and just kind of, again, state that he's just keeping his liege's interest kind of pinged throughout this adventure. But besides that, the first night would go overly peaceful with no interruptions. The next day, you would begin traveling. To ride ahead to your father, Thor, you'd probably want to break away from the party around noon to arrive about an hour or so ahead of the wagon. So is that the rough plan for the second day?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good plan for me.
And then, Clay, are you going with him or are you staying with the group?
I'll head out with Thor. How many hours do we have to ride? Up
So
to-
at noon, it's probably like 4 hours, 5 hours to get up there.
Okay. After that first hour, Clay will go ahead and wild shape into a giant eagle to keep an eye on this guy.
And then Thor, Buffy has been kind of keeping distance while traveling with the half-orcs, but at this point, with just you and Clay, would make himself known. You're traveling with him as well, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might even Nah, I guess I'd probably take my horse, but it doesn't really matter whether or not I take it.
Okay.
But I'll take it there so it makes it faster.
Gotcha. So as you break away from the group, making sure that they're set and nothing's going to disturb them, you begin to proceed further and faster. Thor, you're not, overly familiar with Tamantop Castle, but it is more or less your home now. So there is a sense of, I don't know, excitement, kind of seeing the various lands and geography that it influences kind of cropping up in your vision. When you get to the point that the first spines of the Surbat Mountains trailing down to the lower foothills of Folk, when you pass by the first boulder that represents the end of the mountains to your side, Buffy almost takes like a prominent step in front of the horse you are riding on, basically blocking your path ever so slightly before his eyes kind of look up and meet yours.
What? Why?
You would see the bear's eyes kind of narrow slightly and kind of like craning his head forward. He goes, give me a wisdom check, sir.
Is this the thing that I can't roll below a 10? Or
Yes, I will allow that for this case. Roll again.
try again. Okay, try again.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Oh my, thank God. Literally. Oh, that's so rough.
It's a natural 20. You can't get a 20.
All right. Thor, as you are stopped in the road and Buffy locks eyes with you, this music is not playing. Let me try this again. As Buffy blocks you in the road and locks eyes with you, you feel yourself being kind of pulled into his gaze, like this tunnel vision beginning to apply to your own vision. That's definitely a sentence. You begin to hear this low growling voice. It almost is reminiscent of a sack of mud being dragged across a gravel road. It's really hard to distinguish at first. The words are unclear before it begins to clarify a little bit more, getting a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Defined, before eventually the low tone of it begins to grow lighter, and the gargled scratchiness of it begins to soften. And you hear this somewhat faint, almost distant sounding feminine voice coming from these grisly, worn, wise eyes of this bear companion. And you would hear, "When the moon is highest in the sky, then he must die." And once the last word of that message kind of fades slightly, you would see Buffy blink, breaking the eye contact that he's held with you for so long, and you're almost just deposited back into your normal perception, as if this was just like a very strange fever dream, and Buffy just kind of stands back up, or I guess straightens back up, and walks back off the path to kind of travel alongside you.
The fuck? Buffy, are you possessed by something? Wait, I feel like I know that. Never mind. Great. Now I know even less about you. Okay. Like, do you have to die, Buffy? I really don't want to kill Bear. Oh man, do I have to kill my dad? I just met him like a couple months ago. Would I have any idea if
Give me insight.
he... dude, I got you.
The bare minimum that Thor can scrape together in this current moment is that the various... That was not a pun, Jarek. That was not worth the finger gun. What you can piece together is that the various hints and times that this specific task or responsibility has been referred to hasn't been in reference to your father.
It's to my bear. But I don't want to kill my bear, and then what if I'm wrong? And then what if I have to bring back the bear again? That's gonna be traumatic. Alright, well, I guess I'll just shiver a little bit. And then keep this to myself for now.
So, finishing up the travel to Taman's.
Yup.
So as you and Clay... Yep.
I was gonna say, should I give a perception roll to see if I notice anything, or we
Sure,
good on that?
if you want. I'll tell you that it'll be difficult because it was very brief as far as you're concerned.
You are an eagle.
I just get advantage on perceptions.
Yeah, roll for it. Yeah, you would notice the strange interaction. You'd also, I guess, probably the giveaway would be Thor's pestering of Buffy after the eyesight is broken, so you would notice.
Oh, I meant more danger in the woods, but okay, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were... Sorry. Did not understand that
about
question.
our conversation. Well, you noticed both.
Yes, if you were keeping a lookout around, there would not be anything prominently alarming that you would spot.
Okay, gotcha.
But Thor and Clay, as you finish up your travel at Taman's, Thor, you would be met with the familiar sight of this castle. It is a structure kind of set between two large boulders with just enough surface area in between to accommodate the large tower and the singular kind of makeshift keep kind of jutting out the side of it. There is a small courtyard that probably couldn't even hold the entire Golden Heart caravan in one location, that is walled in by a pretty thick and 15-foot tall stone wall. There is obviously a gate set into it that allows people in and out of the Tamon Top structure. There'd be a singular guard up on the wall keeping watch. He would spot you coming in, and due to the very limited amount of visitors this place receives and your unique appearance, you would be basically instantly recognized and the gates would open for you. There might be a little like, "Oh, Thor," as you ride in through the gate.
I would look at the sturdy stone walls, probably like crack a smile, and just look down at my little eye and just say, "You'd be proud." Carry myself in. I would obviously wave to the guard.
Mhm.
Hold on. Would I remember his name?
With a 10, give me odds or even, sir.
Even still.
You do not.
Ah.
But as you and Clay are, I guess, allowed inside and you ride into the small courtyard, you imagine you're assuming that your father had been notified as soon as you'd been spotted. The old, very short, actually old is not the appropriate term, the ancient, very short elderly man comes out from the large oak door of the bottom of the keep. He clutches a rather ornate, what's the word I'm looking for? Scepter in his hand that he's kind of using as a crutch or a cane as he steps forward. There is this wide, jolly smile on his face, even though his skin is so wrinkled it's sometimes hard to discern the exact emotion that he's expressing. He has, thinning white hair, bald spot starting to form in the center, but he looks up at you, which Thor on a horse is a rather impressive specimen to say the least. So there's a whole arching his back to look up at you fully, and
I
then
would have mounted before I got there, because that's
okay.
too much for.
So instead of a 90-degree, he'd do like a 45-degree.
Yeah.
But eventually, meeting your eyes, you'd be, "Oh, son. Oh, welcome back. It's been some time. Who? Oh, you've brought a visitor."
Yes. Yes. Dad. This is Clay. His real name is Clake Deeploam. Clake, meet my dad, Baron Oldrill.
A pleasure to meet you, Baron Oldrill.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
So,
Baron Oldrill. Your family resemblance is striking.
Clay, it is a strange sight to see a human so similar to your height. This man is probably just breaking 5 feet and is the closest to your size you've seen in quite some time, but he would kind of get his way over to you and then look down at you with a smile. As your last name is mentioned, you see him pause for a moment, his eyes kind of going into this shrewd expression before eventually a little candle flickers above his head. "Deeploam, you're the chosen gnomes, right?"
Yes, we have served in the order since its founding.
"Yes, I've read about your family in the records. Quite the heritage you have, young master."
I thank you, sir. We do strive to do what we can to keep the world safe.
"Son, this is a fabulous event. Is there anything in particular here for, or just coming to pay me a visit?"
I have multiple reasons for being here. One, really wanted to come back and see you. Um, two, there may be a slight troop of people coming through very shortly that I know and are my friends. Well, most of them are. Others we are escorting to the mountains. They may or may not be fugitives. Three,
So,
I,
as you begin speaking and you see his mind begin to working behind his eyes, as you are just about to get the word fugitive out, you feel the tip of his cane like press against your lips. He goes, let's go inside.
okay.
And then he would swiftly turn around and lead you inside.
Come on, Clay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Thor, this...
Are you okay, Clay?
Thor, you have to you have to talk a little slower when we're in the presence of. And he looks around at what I assume are guards.
there's a
Pretty
guard up
well
on the wall
posted
above the
around.
gate. There's a
Yeah.
guard that came out beside the Baron. Yeah.
You should take care and just talk a little slower when we're in mixed company here. Your father seems wonderful. I'll just kind of crane back up. See where you get it from.
All right. I mean, I trust people, but the parent doesn't.
So, stepping inside, Thor, you'd be familiar with, I guess, the main entrance or the main room of the structure of Tamantop is this large library. Every single wall is lined with books. They are chained heavy to the particular bookshelves that they are attached to. On one side, almost on like a little raised platform, there is this massive table that has a splattering of trees and hills, terrain, little figurines, and almost like wooden toy soldiers spread out over it. There's a large desk on the other side, and then a general kind of seating table in the center of this massive room. It's probably, well, massive being relative, it's probably about 30 feet wide and 20 feet deep, but it is rather extraordinary in such a small, defensible fort-style location that it is unusual to walk into as the first room. But you'd be let in there. Everybody else would be dismissed out of this room, just leaving your father, Clay, and yourself, before he turns around, kind of like clutching the scepter in both hands, tapping it delicately on the floor. Now, let's hear what you have to say, son.
Okay, so are you familiar with the whole, like, orcish rebellion thing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we have those people. And one of my friends, actually my best friend, he, you know who he is, Valorant, Lord Valorant.
Yes, the Apple Veins, yes.
Yeah. So you know how they are with, like,
Yes.
yeah. So we're leading them. Like, he asked me to lead them or help him lead them, and so he was like, "Do you think your dad would let you come through?" And I was
And
like, "Well,
you assumed that I would let you come through.
well, see, I didn't say that. I said maybe. I don't know his position, and then I told them I would ride ahead to ask. So it was well thought out. Think.
I'm assuming that nobody else knows.
There is this guy, Sir Laurent Lemoyne.
He sits there for a second. You see him looking up, and it's almost like he's doing like invisible calculations in the sky above your head. He sits there. Yes. Count Bobette's man, yes.
Yeah. So I think he knows. He's a very, for some reason, he just knew where we were when we got here. And then he asked Valorant for help with his liege guy because he's sick and he doesn't know how to help him.
Suspicious.
So, yeah, very. He gives me the creeps. But, regardless, that's the only other guy that I know that knows. And then, obviously, the orcs.
I am not opposed to fugitives escaping through my land that I am not aware of, but I will ask a favor of you, son.
Okay, yeah. You want the money? I still am offering you money.
I want to meet your friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Wait. You play dragon chess, right?
It's a bit simple, but yes.
Yeah, that's the answer that I wanted to hear. Valorant plays dragon chess and he's pretty good, I think.
If an Athelvane is coming up here, we're playing War and Wages.
Oh, I don't know what that is. Okay, sure.
I shall prepare the board.
Yeah, no, I wanted them to meet you anyways. But I was like, I wanted to ride ahead to make sure it was okay that my friends could come over before, before they actually did.
Yes, you have my blessing. That's fine.
Okay.
My lord, if possible, could your trolls maybe take a more northward route over the next few hours, and we will have this issue out of your hair shortly.
I don't have any men outside of my walls, so it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Thank
I don't necessarily agree with what they did, but I understand.
I leave philosophy to those who care.
All right. I think Valorant will accept that answer. So, do you want us to leave them, around the castle, or do you want us to?
But once they cross the river, you could just let them run.
Okay, that's fine. I'll let Valorant know. So what's up?
Nothing new.
Nothing?
No. Oh! I hear that we might go to war with the Empire, and I am very excited.
You want to go to war with the Empire?
We haven't had an updated account of the Imperial troops in ages. The last time we had a war with an enemy that is sufficient, it's a very long time ago. So yes, it would be fantastic. It would be quite the...
Why do we want war?
knowledge.
What? But people die.
Yes.
Well, I guess if you acknowledge that.
I mean,
I don't
those
know how to
who
argue against
know what
it.
they're doing don't die, so... natural order of things, you know.
I guess that's true. I am still here. But anyways, yeah, so a lot has happened since we last saw each other. So much. So much. I went inside the belly of an ancient dragon. Do you know, dang it, I forgot his name. Giant black dragon. Supposed to be super old, super big.
Ziggurat?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I went inside that thing.
Looks over at Clay.
Oh, he wasn't there.
Ah, alright.
No, but Valorant will tell you the same thing. That's how we got a thing. And he has this super tall guy that guards his body. and it's
Son,
like this-
son, son. Why don't you go get your friends and we can discuss all this over food and ale?
Right. Oh my gosh, Clay, we need to go. They're gonna be here very soon.
Yeah, I can see you must take after your mother, Thor. My lord, it has been a pleasure at this brief meeting. We will see you again soon.
I shall be waiting.
Thor would take the backhanded compliment as an actual compliment because he likes being like his mother. And then so how long has it been? Probably just like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would just tell him like I will be back in 40 minutes tops. And then I'll have Clay either ride with me or take to the sky or whatever he does.
How long is it's a 4-hour ride back to them, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably more like 3 because they're traveling behind you and you've stopped and you're now riding towards each other, so you're both making progress.
Oh, okay. I misheard what we were doing. I thought I was only an hour ahead. I
It's
got
all,
it.
yeah.
I got it. Thor doesn't have time
yeah,
anyways.
I'll take to the sky anyways. Keep an eye out for anything specifically soldiers.
All right.
But yeah, I would way back.
So once you arrive back at the, I guess, procession, what would be the plan?
I would just ride up to Valoran. And I guess Decker would probably be right next to him. We got the go ahead.
To elaborate, the Lord said to, just kind of set them loose once we're across the river. There won't be any patrols.
Yep. He said he doesn't care, and we got the green rock to go across. We just have to make it. They just have to make it across the river, and then they're good. I mean, there's nobody else out here that at least he knows of, and the mountains are like literally.
All right. I'm relieved.
He also said that he wants to play like Wars and Wagons with you or something like that. I don't know, but you better figure out what that is pretty fast.
I assume I know what that is.
Yes, I won't make you roll a history check. Wars and Wages is a common game that is played atop, like, the elite officers of the folk military. It is a game purely built on, like, strategy and logistics. It's basically like the Warhammer, like, tactical war game of this world in Asmiliath, and it is, quite the head scratcher for most.
Why is that?
I don't know. I told him you were really good at dragon chess, and he was like, "That's a child's game. Let's play War and Wagons, and I'll show him what a real man does." And I was like, "All right." But yeah, he basically just wants to meet my friends.
Did you tell him that I won dragon chess against a god?
I did not tell him that, but I don't know that would matter because he would probably just say something along the lines of, "Well, you didn't win War and Wagons against the gods, so who cares?" And also, he wouldn't believe you because I told him about going into Ziggurat, and he was like, "That didn't happen."
Well,
But that did happen, right?
Yes, Thor. It did happen.
Okay. Well, wanted to make sure. Anyways.
One thing at a time. Right.
Yeah,
Well, let's get this done then.
Yeah. I vote we get them across first and then
You guys are already across the
go
river.
back. Oh, okay. Well, they're free to go. Whenever. Just don't go into my castle or I will kill them all.
You heard him.
They'd all start like slowly kind of getting out of the wagon, Black Eye being the last. You see him like stood at the, I guess, the tailgate of it, kind of looking at everybody, watching the half-orcs kind of dispersing away and then kind of lingering to wait for his, I guess, direction. And he would meet eyes with all of you individually. I did not expect this to go so well.
If
not-
if you ever need a beast or monster killed, send missive to the Chosen and we'll impillow. Affordable rates. We'll get it taken care of.
Considering we're probably in that category, I might not take you up on that offer. Thrasius, I will heed your advice and travel east and see what lands await me over there, and Lord Athelvane, despite my desire to return, I will never be in this country again.
Hey,
I hope that you all find what you're looking for.
and if you want to go to a place called Pralin or Corel, those are our places. Don't mess them up, or we'll have to come after you. But I think you'll like it there, and it may change your mind. You might want to cover the arm, though. It probably would bring a lot of questions, or just like stick a hook on it or something cool.
We'll see how it goes.
We could hire an armorer to do that.
There is war in the east. I might suggest trending southeast.
I will take that advice.
Just make sure you don't end up in the too south, because then there's like a bunch of beast people, and they'll probably all try to kill you.
Yes, we wouldn't want to run into anybody too familiar. And he would
I know.
eventually hop down off of the cart onto the ground, look around at his flock, and then give you all like one last nod, and then just pick a direction and start walking.
I want to get out of line of sight personally as quickly as possible, and leave the majority of the disguise on, but get the Vilstein iconography off.
Okay.
Now we're just some guys.
Well,
Take a good nap.
you're a robot.
And
Also, we
yeah.
can't hear you.
Oh yeah.
You better know.
I
No.
would connect and reconnect. That's better.
Anything occurring on the trip back to Tamantop?
I mean, I would just like direct them. I'd be like, it's this way.
Mm-hmm. Clay?
Take a nap and try and get a short rest in, if that's an option.
Yeah, I guess you
It's
could
like
lay
what-
down in the cart. That's fine by me. But anything else before arriving back at Thor's home?
I would give Valoran and I guess Decker and Clay, if Clay was gonna not fall asleep, the rundown of like who my dad is and like the history behind who he is, how
Do you
I'm
want
here.
to actually depart that information? Because I don't think everyone is privy to it currently.
Yes. Thank goodness I pulled up Joseph Oldrill's character sheet to look at it. So, long story short, or do you want me to do this in character?
However you want to do it, sir.
Right. I guess I'll go up to Valorant and I'll talk like, I normally like talk so anybody can hear. And I'll be like, all right, Valorant, so here's what you need to know. You're going in against a master of like everything strategy. My dad has been the military strategist for like the folk military for like ever. Like, there's something that he came up with. Some defensive strategy, offensive strategy. Something was named after him.
The
I
old
just don't
drill.
remember what. The old drill, sure. And I'm just warning you, he's very smart. Doesn't care a lot about politics, just cares about military strength. He got attacked by Buffy apparently long time ago and almost died. My mom saved him. Then they went to that cave that I explored. That's where she took him. And some things happened, and now I'm here. And that cave is like possessed or haunted by something, I think. I don't really know. It's really confusing. P.S. My bear told me when the moon is high, I need to kill him, whoever him is. I'm assuming it's Buffy at this point because there's no other him around. And I think that's the gist of it. It's got a lot of books.
Thank you. That was very thorough.
Oh, he also knows about like every noble person in folk, pretty much. Like he knew about Florent and who he served, all that stuff. So he's very, very, very smart. Which rubbed off.
Noted.
Any questions?
Not at the moment. Let's pay a call.
Oh, I also have a half brother. Forgot about that. He is in Vilstein, and his name
Do you need it?
is Gregory, and he's in the military academy at Vilstein. Probably gonna be like Dad is, if I had to guess.
How does he feel about you? Gregory.
Oh, Gregory. Oh, I thought you meant my dad. I was like, I really don't know. I guess he likes me. I've never met Gregory, and we've never been to Vilstein since I learned this information, so I haven't been able to like talk to him. So as of right now, he doesn't know anything about me. Or maybe he does because my dad told him, but other than that, he knows nothing about me.
All right.
And yup, that's about it. That's all I got. He's old, P.S. He's got this cool scepter stick. It looks like a dragon tooth, but I haven't actually asked him yet, and I probably should.
I'll try to remember all that.
If you need me to tell you again, I will.
Let's just get this introduction out of the way.
All right. Well, it's that way.
So as the party find their way up to Top Castle, the evening beginning to set in, the sun hiding beneath the horizon at this point. As you make your way into the courtyard, again the gate being open to you, Valorant, the first sight you would be met with is the description of Joseph Oldrill stood in the center of the courtyard. In his arms is a black and red banner that's kind of bundled up and covered in a fair bit of dust, but he has it kind of clasped in his hands, and he looks up at you, and he is just beaming from ear to ear. You can see this kind of glint in his eye as he watches you come into the courtyard.
I'm actually coming in still fairly obscured, because I don't really know anybody here. But when I'm close enough for it to matter, I just sort of pull down my coverings and Lord Oldrill.
Lord Athelvane, I assume?
Not today, but yes.
Well, when you decide to be Lord Athelvane tomorrow, I have a gift for him.
Have we been acquainted?
No, but I fought beside your great uncle.
I see.
So he kind of lifts up the bundle that he has in his arms, and you can see that it is like a struggle for him to get his arms past his chest. So kind of just like gets it up a little bit higher and begins to speak. Yes, your great uncle Nicholas Athelvane. I served under him when I was quite the young lad. We fought in the battle of the Jagged Capes, and this is the cape that he wore that day. It was bestowed upon me for my valor and my bravery. I have had high regards for the Athelvane ever since, even though now they are very poor. But I thought that I would bestow this upon you.
I see. Well, that is an honor, but if it was bequeathed to you, why do you want to part with it now?
I've acquired too many things, and this is just collecting dust. And it is yours, and he kind of like shakes it, and then the banner, or I guess the cape, begins to unroll, and you see a very faded Athelvane crest kind of plastered on this cape, and the bottom of it, where, you know, the hem of the cape would kind of be tapered, it is all ripped to shreds. There's long, jagged, like, claw marks and rips in the fabric, and he kind of drapes it out and then, like, starts shaking the dust off of it. See, it's a Athelvane sigil, if you don't recognize it.
Oh, I most certainly do. I'll gingerly take it from him. This is a piece of history.
So am I.
I wouldn't be so hasty, Lord Oldrill.
Why else do you think I've gotten all my names in the history books?
You're very much a part of the present.
But, Lord Athelvane, you now owe me a favor, and we're gonna play War and Wages.
All right. Thor mentioned something about that.
And if you'd like, I know that you are very young. You can bring in, probably not my son, but any other military strategies that you want to bring.
Hey, I heard that. We
I-
talked for hours about military strategy.
It
Son.
has been a stressful past 2 days. I think I'll let the rest of my company enjoy your hospitality until we're through, and then we can get back. We have people waiting for us.
So he'd kind of bow his head, and he'd look over, and he'd spot Florent, and be like, I know you. And he points over at Decker. Who are you?
I'm Decker, Caspian, of the Caspians of Liamus.
Yes, yes. And?
Well, that was your question, was it not?
You don't have any titles?
Mister?
Alright.
In Liamus, they are a more representative and democratic society. The Caspians are politicians and merchants.
I'm a son of an alderman, which I suppose my title would be Brat.
Has your father led any charges?
In a manner of speaking, he commands quite a bit of power.
Perhaps I will talk with you later then.
I'm at your disposal. Good luck in your game.
No luck involved. And he begins, like, shuffling towards the door.
Lord Athelbane, if you don't mind, my family does not get much recognition when I'm outside of the Empire. If you don't mind, I would enjoy joining you, at least to observe.
Not at all.
I've not played this game. I'd like to observe as well.
I just heard about this game 3 hours ago, but we're all gonna be there.
As I'm assuming you follow him in, as he enters into the room with you trailing, he kind of just like dismissively waves his hands toward this kind of nice platter of, bread and ales and various meats and cheeses that have been like spread out on the table. Just, food over there, help yourself, and then begins like fast shuffling across the room to the ward game table. And it is probably about 8 feet wide in both directions. It's a pretty large and deep table. You see that he has this like little stool that's hooked onto the side of the table that he carries around and plops next to it so he can hop up and kind of move all the pieces. But there is a intricately detailed and reconstructed valley map. These two large ridges kind of descending across the table with like very finely painted like trees planted into the surface of this terrain. There is already a fair amount of troops and blocks and unit measurements kind of lined up around the edge of the table, and he has like 3 or 4 different books kind of open on a secondary podium beside it that have dates and numbers and like ledgers and various like historical accounts of whatever battle that he has recreated. And he would just step to the other side of the table and then just begin like beckoning you over.
I humor him and do what he wants for the time being.
So he kind of like jab his scepter across the table at you as you approach. Have you played the man's game before?
It's been some time. I've been on the road for, I suppose, 2 years now.
But once you grow tired of swinging around your sword, this is where the men truly prove themselves. He kind of like taps the table with his scepter. It doesn't matter how many individuals you slay or personal glory. This is life and death right here. The decisions made, the knowledge, the variables, all the different options presented to you. Being able to find the precise movements forward for victory. That is what a man is.
Do go on.
I shall explain the rules. It's very simple. And he just like fully begins to focus in like he has done this a million times before.
Lord Athelbane, if you don't mind, this sounds very interesting. May I join you as maybe an advisor, if Lord Oldrill, if you don't mind.
I could literally wipe the floor with all of you combined. I welcome it.
Well, in that case, May I also advise?
Sure.
In that case, I will advise my father.
All right, son, I'll teach you a thing or two. Come here.
Yeah.
So, the rules, very simple. You have infantry, you have skirmish, and you have cavalry. 3 different distinct types of units. On each round, the goal of the game is to push forward the troop that counters the other. And all of the game itself is determined on what you think your opponent is going to do and what you think your opponent thinks you are going to do. There is an attacking side and a defending side. In this case, I will play defense because it is usually the less optimal location to start from. After everybody decides what they are going to do, the attacking force puts forth whatever movement they have, and then the defense reveals their move. If the attacking move beats the defending move, you lose 1 of your units. We have 2 of each unit. Keep it simple so we don't have to worry about various other things. We play this until an entire regiment is done. For example, both of your infantry are taken off the board, both of your cavalry are taken off the board, because at that point, the opponent now has the advantage. All hope is lost. You run. Clear? I'll explain this again in a second.
Clear enough.
So it's basically rock, paper, scissors, where the very loose definition, skirmishers beat infantry, infantry beat cavalry, cavalry beat skirmishers. If that makes sense to everybody. The actual gaming mechanics as far as D&D is concerned, there's a lot of different stages of these rounds as you play, but it all comes down to you using insight or history or whatever other skill you might have at your disposal that pertains to this game to get a read on what you think they're going to do, what you would assume the best move on their side is, and then playing the counter of that, hoping that's the right choice. So it's basically a mind game turned into a physical rock, paper, scissors. All right. So since he is playing defense, the attack, looks over what the situation is on the board, watching Lord Oldrill as well, and then decide their next move. So since Decker, Clay, and Valorant are all on the same team, again, however you want to sell it to me, I'll be very loose with this. You can either use a history check to call upon military history. You can use insight to try and see what Lord Oldrill might be hiding or thinking, and his stats is what makes the DC higher or lower. So maybe it's easier to see what he's thinking versus outwitting him with his vast military knowledge. So
Would perception play into that then?
I would say like a high perception would give you advantage on like a more discerning roll.
I want to open with in games like these there's always the obvious move. Like this is what beginners tend to do. And he clearly does not respect us, so I want to counter whatever the obvious first move would be for a beginner.
Okay.
So if beginners always start with their skirmishers,
That's gonna be the ruling I was gonna say. So
then and he knows that, so he is going to play cavalry. So instead, I am going to start with infantry.
Okay.
Now, what skill, let's see, would that be
Deception potentially.
I could see deception. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. How about we'll do this?
What do you guys?
Yeah, you want to refer to your advisors?
We're huddling up like, oh, rebel.
Can I try to perceive what they're saying.
Sure. Nice.
Never mind. Carry on.
Any other thoughts?
This is a very good idea. Just remember, the stars will guide you.
All right. What can I add to this?
Oh no! Oh my god!
Let's go! Nothing! You can't add anything!
A nice 10.
Oof.
We both rolled minimum. We both rolled the minimum.
Yeah.
I don't have it. Don't have it tonight.
Decker, I'm gonna give you a Hail Mary chance to beat a DC 18 persuasion check. Nope. Alrighty then. So Thor, as you can barely understand the muffled conversation going on the other side of the room, your father kind of like leans back in his stool, kind of tapping with his scepter before you lean down. He begins whispering in your ear, "Son, this is gonna be a fucking cakewalk."
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know you're the... So, I just want...
Should I let them win one so he doesn't go away as embarrassed as he can be?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good idea. I don't want to just bring my friends here and destroy them emotionally.
All right, so, okay, I'll let him win this one then.
Okay.
Gets back down to the table. So he looks across at everybody huddling, and once you all disperse and eventually decide on your move, you kind of like commit it with like a face down piece before he looks it over. All right, Lord Athelvane, I know that you are beginning this game and you are not well oiled currently, so I shall not hold back and destroy you promptly.
Under the circumstances, I think that would be all right.
All right. So you ended up playing
Infantry.
So you see this again, like insanely well-learned military man who, I forgot to mention this earlier, is dressed in like a military uniform with those somewhat, I guess, antique Royal Guard adornments on his shoulder. It is very clear, just even glancing at this individual, that he is born, bred, eat, dreams, sleeps, everything to do with this exact situation. So he glances over it, kind of peers his eyes. You see him take the scepter, and then he pushes forward the cavalry piece. All right, Lord Athelvane, reveal your card.
Sure that I am still being toyed with. I just sort of flip the thing over like, all right, come on.
So you reveal the infantry.
Even though I'm winning the round, I still have no way.
He glances at it, he's like, well, the first move never defines the battle. And then he uses the scepter to kind of sweep away one of his cavalry pieces. And I was like, all right, try at me again.
All right, that was my bright idea. What would you guys suggest next?
Is there any way we can buy off some of his army? That's what I would do.
I know he's a strategist, so let's see here. He just played cavalry. It lost. He played skirmishers.
And while he's talking, I would manifest what do you call it? Aurora behind them, but silently.
Okay.
And look through her just to see if I can get any cues off of and listen in on their conversation.
Okay. Give me perception with advantage then.
Wait, do I get to perceive this owl?
It's
I'll give
behind you.
I'll give you a chance.
Add that 3.
I'm gonna say no, that you don't catch Aurora being summoned, because there really is no noise to that as far as I'm aware. She just... So.
Cool.
The one point of order, since he is down a cavalry piece, and there's only 2 of each piece, as soon as you get that second cavalry piece gone, you guys win the game. So that's just so you understand the rules right now.
Another point of order, it's cavalry.
Cavalry?
Cavalry.
Cavalry.
Calvary is like a hill that Jesus died on.
You know, discombobulated, I don't care. It's all the same to me.
Orientated. I
Yep.
mean, come on.
Fucking, what was it? A counter peg?
Yep. Can I try to? So this
Send
time
it.
I'm gonna. Oh, go ahead. What?
Send in your cavalry.
I'm gonna try to like sneak my way closer so that I can like try to hear what's going on. Kind of like, you know, trying to be stealthy.
Give me a stealth check, Thor. Alright.
I have a passive of 17.
I mean, Aurora would be watching Thor move anyway, but it was a worthy attempt. Is there anything, like, have you guys made a decision yet?
Oh, can I try to? Another thing I wanted to do is like try to think like what would Valorant think, and
Give
just
me,
kind of like.
an intelligence check.
Yeah, I was gonna go with insight, but intelligence, sure.
Is it the same? Oh, no, it's... Oh.
No, it's not. It doesn't matter. The roll's terrible. Never mind. Just play like I'm not even.
So based on what we have done, our strategizing, Clay says, put the cavalry forward. All right. Then rabble, and then put the cavalry forward.
Okay. Okay. So, now that Thor has removed himself from beside his father, Aurora can't hear anything because there's no longer a muttered discussion between the two. The Lord Oldril just kind of like glances around, kind of looks at all of you. You see him kind of peering at each person on your side before he kind of like rests his hands on top of the scepter, kind of tapping it a little bit against the table. All right, you have made a decision.
My forces are committed.
Now, though I know you've already taken this into account because there is certainly quite a bit of intellect on the other side. If I play my cavalry and you have played your infantry, then the game is over. But that would be too easy. Certainly, a battle of such immense intellect and military strategy would not end so quickly. And I don't take you for a skirmishing type, Lord Athelvane. So I am betting that you have played the horse, since your house does seem somewhat obsessive over that. And he would slide an infantry piece forward and kind of wait.
You win the day.
I have won this encounter, but not the battle. And certainly not the war. And then he would slide the infantry piece away before your cavalry piece is taken off, so now you all are tied.
I would scoot back with my unsuccessful mission. By the way, he wanted me to inform you that he beat a god at Dragon Chess.
Son?
Do you know who Choromon is?
No.
Okay, well, if you ever learn about who that is, that's who he beat.
Focus.
Okay.
So this isn't exactly how the game works, or I'm not sure if it's exactly how the game works. But my next thought was to use knowledge of history, knowing that he is a veteran of so many battles, to use knowledge of history to bait him with a scenario that he fought in, that he is familiar with,
Ooh.
but then to switch what he expects with a different piece.
Okay. Give me a history check.
Either of you boys know anything about history? Give me some help with this.
Since it's
Am
such
I-
a specific, like, folk military encounters, I don't know if I can let you give advantage on that.
All right.
Valorant's the only one rolling for it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I couldn't do any insights.
I mean, you could still insight him and just see if you can get a base reading off of what his movement might be. All right. All right. So, Valorant, as you try to dig into your somewhat limited military history, though, you know, it isn't totally lost on you, you begin to look at the board, kind of look at the pieces, kind of racking your brain, and eventually you piece together that, well, it was somewhat obvious, but now you've realized what this battle is a replicant of. And it is the Battle of Jagged Capes, the one that supposedly you, or not you, your great uncle and Lord Odril fought in. You have somewhat limited knowledge in this battle. You don't have a lot of specifics, but you do understand that the majority of the victory can be claimed by the skirmishers being used rather deftly in the rocky terrain of the canyon that it was fought in. So it's reasonable, yeah.
Go ahead.
It's reasonable to assume that if the battle were to play out as it did in real life, that skirmishers would be like the play.
On my part or his part? Or both?
Both.
All right.
And then, Clay, as far as your insight goes, you can't get an exact reading on what piece he might play, but Aurora would pick up on Thor and him going back and forth, and during this time, Decker, you would hear Oldril talking to Thor. Now, at this point, he is probably realizing that the cape that I gave him was not just a simple gesture, but it was a hint, because my son, sorry, it's been quite some time, you're still very tall, it's kind of strange. If he's piecing this all together, you watch the cogs begin to turn in his brain, and he is going to try and replicate the movements of that battle, because I think that I'm going to follow it, and if I'm going to follow it, then he should follow it, but then I won't follow it because I know he's going to follow it. You see what I'm saying?
So we're following it.
We're not following it.
Should we?
Watch. But Decker, you would hear that entire conversation.
I would dip in. I'd disconnect from Aurora. I'd nod my head down to Valorant, and in a hushed whisper, I would tell him that he is not following the strategy of the battle of. Like, did he name the battle?
I mean, he named it in the courtyard, so you would know that it was the Jagged Cape battle.
Okay, so I'd say I'm not sure if this helps, but he is not following the strategy of the Dragon Cave battle. And it had something to do with your cape. Good luck.
So he's saying he's not going to play skirmishers, but he expects me to play skirmishers,
That is a fair assumption.
which means that I am going to play infantry because he's going to counter skirmishers with cavalry.
I was gonna try to insight not Valorant, but look at Clay and Decker and see what kind of advice the advisors are giving. To see if I can figure out what advice they're figuring out, or like they're giving.
Just play your cavalry. That's a strong one, right?
Decker and Clay, give me sleight of hand with advantage.
Ooh.
I know we don't get a lot of sleight of hand checks. Oh. So Thor, it's hard for you to discern what advice is being given, but you would see Decker, who you've now traveled with for some time, the familiar sight of Aurora, like him casting into Aurora, his eyes kind of being blank. You see him coming out of that before giving a bunch of advice to Valoran.
Or just pause. And I'd like survey the room.
So, what would Aurora do if she's spotted?
I commit infantry.
Okay.
I had her posted up behind him as stealthily as she could be, but I mean, she's an owl in the shadows, so if there are shadows, I'm not really sure.
There's just kind of like a large bookcase behind them, so at best she'd kind of be like propped up on a high bookcase behind them. So I imagine if Thor was actively looking for her, he would spot her. So do you do anything with that information?
Yeah. I'd look back at Decker and make sure that he's not in Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what he can do with it. And then 2, I would whisper down to my dad. And if he went back in at any point, I'd stop whispering. I'd be like, cheating using the bird.
Son. Intel gathering, not cheating.
Wait, so you knew the bird was there?
I do now.
Oh, I see what you did there. Yeah, I think it can hear us because from what I remember, whenever he goes into it, he can hear and see.
Son,
Oh,
son.
Okay, yeah.
Lord Athelvain, you have committed your peace.
That's right.
All right, and then he slides a skirmish piece forward.
And we turn him over, and he takes it.
Are you enjoying yourself, Lord Athelvain?
No.
Would you like to forfeit?
No.
All right.
It isn't every day that one gets to play this game with the most storied strategist in folk military history.
I appreciate your words, but buttering me up won't dull my mind.
It's not a matter of flattery, it's acceptance of my circumstances.
I like you.
I'd I'd like to lock eyes with Decker. Don't make me poof that hell out of existence.
I would send over to Aurora and just have her silently swoop down and perch right on top of Thor's head.
And Clake would just, or not.
And if he goes to do anything aggressive towards her at that point, she just goes away.
Oh, that's a dexterity check, baby. You better believe I would totally take that.
Yeah, I guess that's like Decker's reaction time versus Thor's quickness. Because you have to like spot that he's doing something and then send her away. Because it's reaction time versus like physical movement, I'll probably give Decker the advantage, but we'll go ahead and roll for it. I guess it's gonna be straight dex. So advantage on dex with Decker and then a dex with Thor.
Well, his dexterity is better than mine. And he'll beat a 4.
Barely.
All right. So yeah, you'd see Thor instantly like reach your hand up for it, and then Aurora would just out of existence.
Don't make me. And then Carl would just like point to him and just.
Where's Carl at?
He's on my shoulder.
Always.
Always.
So-
Paladin to your infantry again. You won't expect the same move twice.
Ooh, that gives me an idea. Can I try to like have Can I try to have Carl sneakily like slide down my arm and I like stealth him under the table?
You can try, but I will tell you that since he just made a threat towards Decker, it'd probably be pretty hard for him to not realize him then immediately moving.
Can I like wait until Decker's not looking?
I'm gonna give you stealth with disadvantage for Carl.
Well, I don't. Do I use my stealth for him?
Yeah, he is just a part of your soul, so. Wow. Decker, you want to throw me a single perception check? Ooh. So you would spot Carl, like, slithering down Thor's arm before he kind of, like, attempts to grab around the bicep and then just plops to the ground.
And I will manifest the Aurora right on top of Carl.
Ah! Hey! Hey, you get that thing out of your mouth! Start, like, swatting at her.
Gentlemen.
And yes, just sorry, we're having a bit of fun.
No fun. War.
So, I think at this point, I would like to do a tiny bit of play acting, and sort of display a facial expression of like resignation. I have not played skirmishers at all, so they're the only piece that I have 2 of left. So I want to make him think that I'm doing the obvious move, and then, as Clake said, put infantry down again to counter cavalry.
Okay.
So, would you think that would be more performance or deception?
Ooh. That is one of those ones that really dance that line.
Isn't it the same roll?
Not for me. I'm.
I think it
Oh.
would be intimidation.
What'd you say?
I think it'd be
Shut
intimidation.
up. Shut.
I would probably rule in this scenario that it's performance.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. Anything else from anybody?
No. Nah, I got nothing else.
So before Oldrill kind of like looks at the board, sees that the opposing team has elected their choice, he like looks over at you, Thor. It's like, you say that he is your best friend, son.
He's one of the only ones I got left.
All right. Turns back to the board. How old are you, Lord Athelvane?
25.
It's a good age, good age. I am...
For some.
True. I'm going to gamble. Which I don't do often, but I find exciting. He takes his scepter and he pushes forth his cavalry.
With a stone face, not a poker face because we probably don't have poker. A 3-dragon anti-face. Valoran reveals his piece.
You see him just watch it flip. It's a good game, Lord Athelbane.
An education.
Well, there's certainly much more to learn, but it is a start.
I am always trying to better myself.
If you want, I can copy my account of the Jagged Cape and send it to you.
I would appreciate that. Yes. And anything else that you would see fit to send?
Well, Brat Caspian and Mr. Deeplome, you were very suitable advisors.
Rat? Caspian?
Brat. You said you were a brat.
Oh, I thought you called me a rat. Yes.
Or a cheating little rat.
Well,
Son.
yes,
You lose with dignity. And then
Oh
you
wait, we
boast with-
lost?
Yes, son.
Did we lose on purpose?
I'll let you decide.
Thor will start to weigh the fact that Valor beat a god at Dragon Chess and the fact that his dad's a military strategist and ultimately come to no conclusion because he doesn't know.
Okay.
I don't want to be impertinent, but I must ask why you allowed us to cross your lands today.
You see him kind of like step down from the stool that he was stood on and then actually sit on it. So basically just his eyes are looking over the table at you due to his height. He kind of leans back a little bit. Lord Athelvane, a few months ago, I was made aware that I had child of Goliath's son. And it made me reconsider quite a lot of things. Growing up in Folk, I'm sure you're very aware that inhabitants of the Serbat Mountains are not smiled upon, and I have done my fair share of destroying their population on campaigns and military escapades. So I am finding myself somewhat shaken in my resolve, though I don't regret any of my decisions. I just find myself uncertain as to what is right and what is wrong, and to be quite frank, I'm very old and care very little about consequences at this point, so if my son wanted them to go free, then I'm fine with it.
Well, you have my personal thanks. I am sure that being allowed to cross your domain made this much simpler. Change is coming. And I would like to, at a minimum, correspond with you. But I would always harbor hope that you might support me one day as you supported Nicholas.
Lord Athelvane, by the time you are able to effect any change in folk, I will certainly be dead, but I will put in a good word with my son, my other son.
I must accept that response. However, I would point out something changed today. There are fewer slaves in this country.
True, but there are more angry hearts as well. Lord Athelvane, do you know how old I am?
I know how experienced you are.
Hold up the wrong numbers.
I am 78 years old. I have lived much longer than anybody should, to be quite fair. He is 78, Thor.
I swear that just said 83.
No. Anyway.
Anyways.
I have served various kings and our current queen. I have seen the dissolution of the royal guard. I've served in battles and wars and under various nobles and houses and lineages. Everything changes. Nothing is ever static, that is for sure. But there does grow a time that you just stop caring, and you're just content that the sun rises each morning. And that is where I am at.
An advisor, then. And
Sure.
Intermediary with Lord Gregory.
I don't think you would like him, but he is very, good.
I must admit that he would not be the first friend that I had to make that I did not like.
Considering that you're best friends with my son, it must say something about your, charisma.
Okay, but he was a very tough egg to crack. I mean, it took at least a year.
I am a person of ambition. I'm sure you can see that. But we are facing a time when folk politics notwithstanding, the sun may stop rising each day. I don't know if Thor has filled you in, but we have the most grave responsibility, the four of us.
Well, considering you have beat the best military strategist the world has ever seen, I have high hopes.
Well, every dog has his day. I will not come away from this contest imagining myself the new greatest military mind in folk.
Perhaps we'll fix that. Perhaps we won't.
Is there anything else that we can do for you before we depart?
Your, what was his name? Garment, right?
My father, Garmont.
Yes, that one. What did he do? I heard that he, is not Lord anymore.
He is presumed dead.
Ah,
Lord Oldrum.
doing what?
Merely traveling the roads of our country.
Well, that is certainly not a way for a Lord to go.
I agree.
Well, I'm sure you're not looking for it, but considering recent discoveries, I guess I am offering it. I will gladly depart my parental wisdom, if need be.
Oh, it is needed.
I am all ears. What problem do you have?
Well, as I said, I would like to be able to correspond with you, but the immediate issue is that I want to convince Queen Asmiliath that she should add folks' efforts to that of Liamus and Giles in order to stop the next great entrance.
I did hear that we no longer were on speaking terms with Liamus, which I will hold back my personal opinion on, given present company. The situation, I, again, am not an expert in politics, but I am an expert when it comes to military. My assumption is that the Queen's options is either siding with Liamus and facing the threat of the Empire, and considering there is slowly building resentment due to the troublesome Goliaths, no offense, son, the Empire is probably preparing to invade, or we can return to be subjugated by the Empire and join in their fight against the other factions. And to be fair to the Queen, I don't know which one is a higher probability of success. I think they call it between a rock and a hard place.
Oh, we have that saying. But it's usually just a rock and another rock.
Quaint.
I see. That is a valuable bit of insight.
Well, I have fathered 2 children.
Yes.
Don't ask.
All right.
It's a tender moment that I hold dear, and I do not want to see it soiled.
I would never.
Well, are any of my
Don't
other...
mistake. Please don't mistake my academic interest.
If you are curious, I'll let you learn firsthand.
You were about to say something.
Yeah, I was about to ask if any of my other sons' wandering friends need parental guidance, or if everyone else is good in that regard.
Yourself without a father today? What advice would you have for a brat?
What problem currently plagues you, Brett?
Okay. Arranged marriages. Your thoughts on them?
It is sadly necessary in the military game to figure out who you are marrying, because there are many swords connected to the... Kind of looks over at you and kind of waits for a second. The tenderness of a lady's nether regions. So if you are looking at it strictly from a military sense, then you must weigh her physical appearance versus the amount of sword she brings to your cause. If you are looking at it in another sense, then I would imagine it is not worth it unless there is true feelings there.
Thank you for your wisdom.
Deep Loam, you're probably older than me, but what do you want?
Looking over at Valorant and his relatively recent promise of silence, nothing I suspect you would be able to assist with, but if you happen to know anything of my order, then we could always use assistance when called upon. I don't so much need advice as I need military assistance.
Deep
Not
Loam,
now, but
let me give you a little bit of advice. Do you know why the royal guard was put to pasture?
the royal folk? No.
Lord Athelvane, pay attention if you don't know the tale. You take the first, the second sons of prominent nobles or rising military strategists or officers, and you place them into this prestigious role that guards the queen's family, guards the queen's visitors and ambassadors. And you slowly realize that you have now placed all of the most prominent, influential people of folk into the hands of ambitious and bitter young men. Of course, some will choose the right course and hold their honor to their chest and make sure that the path they take is straight, but many others succumb to the various influences of wealth and power and prestige. By the time the order was dissolved and I had already made my leave, corruption was rampant. There was barely any actual protection offered by the Royal Guard. We were more of a terrorist faction that was choking folk at the neck, letting the body wither away so that we could stare into the eyes of the Queen as she died. bit dramatic, but I fear that your order might have leaned itself towards a similar fate, charged with protecting the world from these various monsters and beasts. Perhaps they are no longer required. Perhaps they're taking advantage of a situation that no longer needs the band-aid that they hand out. It might be time for them to dissolve as well.
Or rejuvenate themselves into something useful.
There is always a phoenix amongst the ashes for those determined enough to chase it down.
Well, young man, I appreciate the advice.
Well, I don't have enough beds here, so you can't stay, but you have food and wine.
Our comrades will be very curious as to the success of our outing, so I would just as soon get back on the road after we refresh ourselves.
All right.
I was never here.
Oh? What? And that's where we'll end this session.